so
We can
you
just.
can never tell.
I'm already recording, so we can go ahead and jump in. I'm
okay.
so glad we're doing this, by the way.
I'm glad I didn't. I mean, it would have been fun, but I'm glad I didn't come all the way for this movie necessarily. But though it would have been fun, we'll see. Yeah. Well, it's your show, so I'll let you. However it works.
Oh, sure. We pretty much just go off the cuff when we talk about this. Only difference is we're in the living room and not in the car. As appropriate as it would be to review this movie from the car. We both actually did get invited to the premiere for this movie.
We did. I know. I thought it was going to be Batman, so I was like, oh, sure. But it's Beckman.
And then
different movie.
Yes, absolutely. Beckman? Oh,
no, Beckman.
I don't know about you because I'm not sure what the recent ones you've watched, but in terms of myself, after the last couple of these that I saw, one being Tulsa, the other one, My Brother's Crossing, I just kind of needed David A.R. White shooting people in the chest for about 90 minutes.
Yeah.
What was your...
And driving. There's some driving.
Oh, yeah.
Classic David A.R. White, Gabriel...
Saboloff.
What? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Team up. Part of me wonders if this was originally going to be like a fourth Revelation Road movie. And like that was the plan.
Yeah.
But then they were like, well, why? Does that... I mean, even with the third one, they put the name like way... They didn't even call it that. They put the name like way down low. Like, well, this isn't a franchise. We don't want anybody not watching this.
And it still had like a teaser at the end of it. Like it still sequel baits at the end of, in Beckman as well, but also Black Rider, the third Revelation Road movie. And I was thinking about that when I was watching this. I was like, you could argue he's kind of playing the same character in this, Beckman.
Yeah.
Because he was a CIA hitman or something. And
he's out and he's like, I've been pulled back in because of this little girl.
Yeah, because in this, it's John Wick, and in the other, it's the Mad Max trilogy and Left Behind in there as well. I was excited for this the moment that I saw a screen grab of it, because I first heard of this when I did the episode on the Revelation Road movies. So me sitting there, I'm going, oh, what's David A.R. White got coming up? And I looked, Beckman, what's Beckman? And I see these still shots of him with this machine gun. There's Satanist Billy Baldwin. I look over to my wife and go, honey, I've just found the main movie I'm excited for in 2020. No matter what else happens in 2020, I will have Beckman. I will have...
At least Beckman will be there.
I will have...
You're the first person I thought of, because last time we talked, you were like defending David A.R. White, and I was like, yeah, but like, to me, he's God's Not Dead.
Yeah.
And he's Pastor Dave to me.
Yeah.
But to you, he's so much more. And I'm like, boy, this is a return to the roots. Brad's gonna love this.
Oh, this is my cup of tea, because David A.R. White, aside from being usually my favorite thing in all of the movies he's in, a majority of which I don't think I recommended, but I usually end up liking him in there. I appreciate the fact that he goes for different roles, whether it's a sitcom like that Quarantine thing that was just on, or the comic relief in the God's Not Dead movies, or
the star of the third God's Not Dead movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also sci-fi movies, dramas, action movies. I'm like, this man. I mean, he's a guy who certainly tries out different genres. Like I respect that. And here you have the John Wick revenge vigilante movie, kind of sort of religious movie.
Yeah, he is a preacher, and he does talk. There is that mercy conversation. So was it everything you expected it would be, or hoped that it would be?
Entertainment-wise, Yeah, I did find the movie pretty entertaining, but I mean, this movie is it's David A.R. White going around in the desert with a machine gun, going after a bunch of Satanists. It's tailor-made for, at the least, I will find this entertaining, despite other qualms I've got about them.
What? You didn't think it was a perfect film?
I wish this movie was perfect.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do too. That's probably where I land on it is there's a lot of like things that for probably an ironic way I would find super entertaining.
Yeah.
But I wish it had a bigger budget. Imagine a huge budget in the hands of these guys.
I know. I was thinking that when I was watching it because I was picturing in my head different things that could be tweaked, trimmed, done again to fix a lot of the technical problems that the movie had. I mean,
even getting someone who could write the script again, I feel like the script is clunky and also written for the budget that they have, which is not a bad thing.
Oh, yeah, I know all about that.
It would be, I think if they had a bigger budget, they would rewrite the script and it would have probably more Baldwin in it.
Yeah, that was one thing, because I did like him in the movie, but he's in this movie about as much as he's in the trailer.
Right, and they have all these sub-bad guys, you know, kind of like they would have just made that Baldwin if they could.
Yeah, and it also does it in chapters as well, because like
yeah, that was weird.
Well, because the subtitles for the John Wick movies are chapters, so that's kind of how I took that. Like,
but even with that, I don't know if you do a synopsis.
Go for it.
At the beginning of your conversation, I was just thinking about how with that, each one is the name of the new character they introduce in that segment, which makes the movie very clunky to me in the sense that I'm like, oh, this is a new person. We're learning about a new person. But even with that, it would have been interesting because the movie's all over the place in terms of time jumps.
Yeah.
But if they would have kind of done it more, what's that? The Slumdog Millionaire style, where like, you learn about like, so you have the two different segments, kind of Christopher Nolan, where he does his like circle thing.
Yeah.
It's like, present, past, where you kind of you see how that person had an impact or brought him to where he's at, and now you see what their connection is here.
I totally see what you're saying.
But those characters all of them didn't seem to like lead to much of anything.
No, it would have made me, if I had known more about the daughter before she's taken in the movie, it would have made me care a bit more when she does, and also feeling David A.R. White's anger when it happens as well. Whereas the way that this movie is kind of presented and cut together, a lot of the very specifics that you find out about their relationship and also her happens after she's kidnapped. But, I mean, it did give one of my favorite title cards in the movie, which just simply says, "Another year later."
How many time jumps are in the beginning of this movie? Like, the first 15 minutes, it's like a year later. Where it begins at David A.R. White's, like, in, you know? He's still in. Whatever the what's it called in John Wick with the hotel?
Oh,
and
the
all that?
is it the Continental, or is it Saturday Night Live?
He's in the whatever the thing is, the underground assassination team.
Yeah.
And then it jumps and he's like becomes a Christian or a pastor or like an understudy to a pastor. And then this girl comes along, like, and it jumps, then he adopts the girl after it jumps again. Like, so it's taking you through this. Like, all right, we need, like, John Wick, I don't think it starts with him in. He's already out, and then he gets pulled back in. Because he's just a normal guy living a life with a wife and a dog. Or a wife. The wife dies.
Yeah, and then the dog,
then
the wife's dead, and the dog is in the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, is his saving grace.
Yeah.
But his dog is... David A.R. White's dog is his adopted daughter in this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the way that they do it here is it's a setup that I've seen in movies before where someone is they're some kind of criminal, and then either they get taken in by a preacher or at the very least a religious person or religious family, and then they become born again and their past catches up to them. What's different about it here, and I don't know if you were thinking the same thing, is usually when I see this kind of thing happen in a movie to a character, it's typically someone really young, like someone who's maybe a teenager or 20. Whereas in this, I mean, David A.R. White, I think, just turned 50. Like, so, I mean, he's a much older dude. So when he's getting taught scripture and everything by Jeff Fahey in the movie, it's the kind of thing I usually see in a movie when it's a much younger character, and it was a little distracting here, but it was part of how I thought this movie would be a religious film going into it, just judging from the trailer. Him being this former criminal who's now a reverend. Even what it does at the end with Billy Baldwin, I called from the trailer. I'm like, I know what kind of movie this is going to be. It's going to be the kind of movie where he has either sort of this forgiveness angle towards the end after killing about 100 people.
Right.
but what I did,
but the big boss he spared. Spoiler alert.
What I did, yeah, we'll get into some spoilers here. Like, what I did love though is that the movie also knows that the audience will still want to see the bad guy get his comeuppance.
Yeah. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, that's lame. So they're like, well, how are we gonna do it? Because we can't end the movie like that. This guy this sinner running around. So they do two things with that, because they both kill the bad guy and they set up the bad guy for the sequel.
Yeah, I know, because I knew this was going to be a little bit Taken and a lot John Wick from the trailer, but
especially with the phone call where he's like,
yeah,
you know, I have a very specific groupings of abilities.
Before I forget, my favorite cover up for the budget, and I totally respect this because I could see myself doing a very similar line, was when they don't do a car chase and David A.R. White says, "What? Car chase? You want me to do a car chase? No, car chases are for idiots." And they just continue going in a nice slow speed.
Car chases are for budget.
Yeah, I'm like, I respect that. No, but the extent that it does go the full John Wick, to the point to where it's this whole hitman universe syndicate where they do the same thing, where David A.R. White does something wrong and then there's a bounty on his head, so all of the other hitmen in this universe get a message on their phone saying,
we got their flip phones.
Yeah, you get $100,000, because I guess even the Hitman organization is working on a smaller budget than John Wick. You get $100,000 if you bump off Aaron Beckman. So in the third act of the movie, it is him dodging a bunch of other hitmen, like in a John Wick movie. Yeah. Except for the 5 minutes where it turns into the girl with the dragon tattoo.
Oh, with the rape scene? Yeah.
The hacker girl. Oh,
I'm kidding.
Dude, the brain fart in my head just now. I was like, holy shit, was this a part where I was looking at my phone, like returning a text or something, and I missed it?
Yeah, it got real intense there. I was like, wow, he's really tried to cross over with this one. Well, I don't understand why that girl wasn't just in the movie the whole time.
Yeah. Because
she had a more, like, specific look. She looked like somebody in one of these types of movies with the, you know, her hair, and like she didn't look like a mom pretending to be like the other several of the other female actors in this.
Yeah.
And I've seen in other, I think some of them were also in Revelation Road.
Yeah.
or other Pure Flix movies. It was weird that Pure Flix was on the, like, that they didn't, like, put a different label on this. But it's actually a Pure Flix film.
So you could probably answer me this, because when I watched it, it was like the Pure Flix logo was right next to what said Quality Flix. Is Quality Flix like a... Is that like is that like a banner that they have when maybe it's not quite as religious of a movie as some of the other ones, or is...
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. All I know is what that text message that I got from David A.R. White on Instagram, you know, inviting me to the movie. That's all I really know. I think that's an important part of this movie, is that I don't even know if that was like a campaign that they were doing, but you and I both got invited to the premiere in LA. Yeah. And apparently neither of us have the money to go to this. We don't have a budget either.
I know. Like, so it's like, well, it would be cheaper just to watch the movie at home over on voodoo.com and just like rent it for a couple of days.
But I wonder if they were hoping that, like, because he or whoever sent the message, I don't know that it was really David A.R. White. I'm sure he's got people who run his Instagram.
Yeah.
But it was like, hey, I love your reviews. Thanks for reviewing our movie. How about you come out to the premiere and stuff?
See, I think it might have been David A.R. White, because you got the message that said, hey, I love your reviews, whereas I just simply got the invitation.
Well, and he also signed it just a capital D, a big D.
I hope he goes by D.
I hope he goes by Big D.
Yeah.
I just, I was disappointed he didn't sign it Jesus, man. You know? That what a missed opportunity. Like, if I would just make that my my sign off every time.
There is, I mean...
But the reason I brought that up was just because I wonder if they're trying to, like, get this... Because it feels like the type of movie that if you didn't know that it was a Christian movie, you'd pick it up and you'd, you know, be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a Christian movie in the same way, like... you might have seen like a crime procedural in the 80s or 90s that'd be on Saturdays on CBS would be. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, if you cross like Highway to Heaven with a direct-to-video late 90s action movie that would have premiered on like Cinemax on a Friday, like that's and both of those really do kind of speak to me in a way. So.
Or like a really rough episode of Touched by an Angel, where they like the angels go to a gang member or something.
But then there's parts where the tone of another Pure Flix movie would come into it. Like, David A.R. White is more or less like in action movie David A.R. White mode through the movie. But then there's a small part in this movie by Kevin Downes from...
Yeah. Is he supposed to be gay in this?
Thank you. Like... He walks in from a totally different movie. He walks in from, like, one of the sitcoms that you'd see on the Pure Flix.
On Pure Flix, from Hitting the Brakes.
Yeah!
Or whatever, the other one. Something Dad.
Malibu Dan, the family man, I think. Man.
Maybe they told him they were filming this. But he's a producer on this. So, I don't know if they were like, this will be funny to have, like, Kevin Downes in here in this goofy role.
Yeah. Yeah. It's brief.
And he comes in. He's not even necessary because he's just the brother of the person he's there to talk to.
Was he the brother or the husband?
Oh, maybe the other guy who got his hand shot with that CGI paintball was the... There's also a part where it looks like they put those stickers that you put on your truck that look like bullet holes.
Oh, yeah.
There's a part where the bullet holes look like they just stuck those to the wall. I guess those types of things I could appreciate to a degree. Like you were saying, like, oh, that's something that I would have done. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's something that if you don't have a budget, you do this. But I've seen low-budget movies with gunshots that look... a lot better.
I know, same here. Like in ours, unless the last movie we did had stuff like this, but we were parodying that. Like, so yeah, in terms of like, you know, homage, parody, or if there's context to it, like that's one thing. But yeah, I've seen movies on a lower budget than this and that's kind of what was distracting me a lot about this movie, because I was seeing a lot of different things that I wish were tighter or that they had some more time on. One was the CGI blood is really bad. When dude gets shot in the hand. I mean, it doesn't help that you have Kevin Downs in there, like sitcom.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Oh dear!
Yeah, he's like, if you were to watch a Judd Apatow comedy, this would be like the gay brother that John Michael Higgins is playing, that is randomly in this hardcore action movie. It's
why is this happening to me? Yeah, it's really. I think he's supposed to be a nerd, but it's definitely, I don't know what they're doing with that, or if they're just like, this will be real funny because Kevin Downs has gotten so serious lately.
Do what? Sorry, you kind of cut out.
Doing these. Oh, Kevin Downs has gotten so serious lately because he's producing like I Can Only Imagine and stuff.
Oh yeah.
That maybe they're like, this will be funny, but yet he's in Hitting the Brakes, so I guess that's untrue.
He was more dramatic when he was in Faith of Our Fathers than he is in this, a movie where like several people just get shot hundreds of times.
So like, there's also like there's this part where his wife, I guess, gets shot in the woods, and it feels like that Daddy's Home 2 type thing. Like she's rutted and then he shoots and she just falls in the woods, and it's so funny. There's a lot of stuff in terms of like shots and angles in this that needed an insert. Some of the fights, like the later fights, feel better. That one in the warehouse where, you know, there's some camera movements, they're moving in on it, but like that whole scene in that house with Kevin Downs and stuff, there's no movement. It's just two cameras on sticks pointing opposite ways, and they added like a wiggle in After Effects. It's very not stylized, and the color palette isn't stylized like until later in the movie. Like there's this part where he's like on the phone in the car, and the part where they're driving in the SUV through the mountains, and you can tell it's just like, I don't know if it's DSLRs, but like it's blown out. Like the windows, the sky behind them feels blown out.
It could have used another pass or two in the editing room, because I've seen fight scenes, but like, okay, you have John Wick where there's a tremendous amount of amazing stunt work going on in that. And then you have this, which it's cut and choreographed in a way to certainly make the actors look like they can fight better than they actually can in real life. Now, I've seen that before edited very bad, where you can't follow what's going on. It's just like a bunch of quick cuts every half second. Whereas in this,
like the later Taken movies.
Oh yeah, like that, really or some of the later direct-to-video Seagal movies. Whereas in this, I could follow it just fine. I could follow the action and the fighting just fine. But
it wasn't very good action and fighting, so what you were following was a little bit lame.
What you were following needed a couple more passes into the editing room to make it not look so much like it's a group of people playing John Wick, like with prop guns and throwing fake punches and doing stuff like that. And I even felt that way about a lot of the lines in the movie. There are some lines that are done better in the trailer than they're done in the actual movie. So
well, there was some missed opportunities for some quips and stuff where it just is a lame line. Like there's a part when like he's trying to get into that restaurant or something, and the guard is like, I was told to rip your arms off if you try to get in here. Yeah. And then he's like, so what are you going to do? He should have said something along the lines of like, so which arm you won't, so what it'll be, the right or the left arm, or something like that. Like there could have been some kind of, like, I'd have to workshop that, but there's an opportunity there to write something quippy.
And even adding some kind of like doing some kind of audio distortion with the voice, or maybe putting in a sound effect or some kind of maybe sting with the soundtrack, because there's some lines that they give where David A.R. White more so just sounds kind of annoyed by the situation he's in, as opposed to being hitman action movie pissed off. So he'll come barging out of a house with his phone and he'll say something like, "No!" And it'll just sound like he's just kind of annoyed. Whereas if you
stabbed.
did some work on that in the editing room with the soundtrack or another line read or something, because in the trailer when he's screaming it at himself in the car, that works better.
Oh yeah,
worked better in the trailer than it does in the actual movie.
He's just like, ah, and there's it's one of those moments where you can tell the movie's asking you to imagine what this would be like in a better movie.
Yeah.
And I think this has a lot of those moments, which is too bad. But also, I was distracted. You were distracted by something earlier, and it made me think, like, I was distracted by the fact that this is supposed to be a story of this single guy who used to be, like, a hitman adopting a 17-year-old girl.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's weird. There's got to be somebody else who could take this girl in the hitman David A.R. White. That's yeah, baby. I'll take you in and take care of you. Like, it seems inappropriate.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I guess that didn't distract me too much. Maybe because I've just seen 200 action movies where something similar happens, like Safe with Jason Statham, or The Equalizer or something like that. So,
but usually it's either like with that first what was that Jason Statham movie with the transporter? Like it's somebody who he can fall in love with.
Yeah.
Or it's a young girl, like the one with Rain of Fire. Is that what it was? Where it's like a young girl.
Man on Fire.
To, like, protect. Man on Fire. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rain of Fire is the dragon movie. Man on Fire. Like, so it's somebody, but it's just weird that she's like, I don't know, just barely underage, and he's adopting her. It feels a little bit.
Wait.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy who did that? He married his.
Woody Allen.
Woody Allen. Yeah.
It made it hard for me to keep track of what their relationship was because it jumps around so much. I was kind of sitting there like, wait, we progressed far enough to where, like, she's calling him dad now. That was kind of weird to me, because I thought I missed something. I thought I was like, wait a minute, is this his daughter, or is this still Jeff Fahey's daughter? Like, it. Again, I could chalk that up to just how the movie's just kind of presented very non-linear, at least in the first couple of acts.
Yeah. And not structured. Like, I don't feel like it was storyboarded in a way that, like I said before, if it had kind of like each chapter is going to be a person, you're going to see their backstory and who they are now, and that's all going to culminate in the end to something, all of that big significant, then that would be... Then I would kind of forgive some of that stuff that's confusing at the beginning, because you figure it out as you go. But
then something crazy would happen that would pull me back into it. Like, I would sit there and be like, all right, I'm really not believing these people are fighting and doing all this stuff. I wish if you had just trimmed a handful of frames in each shot in the action sequence, it would make all the difference in the world. But then something would happen that would make me get more fascinated with whatever universe this is, this pseudo John Wick universe. This is a movie in which David A.R. White keeps a jail cell in
a
storage unit
that he could take, like, use as a safe house.
Yeah.
Who is that kid? Is that his?
The kid was belonged to the cult sent in to get, like, to find out where the girl was. Is he
still in that jail cell?
Oh right, I think that was the last scene in the.
They never let him out. He's rotting in there.
I
can't remember. That's how not invested. I think you were more invested in this movie than I was because there were too many characters. Once the hacker girl, who we only know she's a hacker because she's on the phone saying, if you were smart, you'd know how to encrypt it.
Yeah.
Like, we never see her actually doing any hacking. It's just she's talking about how smart she is on the phone, and that introduces
It's one of those movies
character.
where the poster, other than David A.R. White on the poster shows the actors who are in this movie the least amount of time. So, like, Burt Young is on the poster for this. He's in this movie twice. When he first was in the movie, I wasn't sure if he was a ghost or not, but no, he's just like the guy who runs the facility. Jeff Fahey is in this movie as much as Eric Roberts would be in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very like, remember that movie Stealth, where they promoted
Jamie Foxx?
Jamie Foxx
Yeah.
being in it, and then he dies in the first, I don't know, 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Or yeah, they do that a lot with the Italian Job. They do that too.
Oh yeah.
With
Jeff
Sutherland.
Fahey on the poster for this movie is the same. At least I think it is the same shot they use, the same picture they use to put inside of a frame for his funeral scene in the first 10 minutes in the movie. But he was...
You get one photo.
Yeah, like Eric Roberts was in the Revelation Road movies more than Jeff Fahey was in this movie. And that's saying something when you're in a movie more than Eric Roberts is. But I was... the movie was more like, I wish it was edited better. I wish it had a few more go-arounds in the editing room, whether it's the soundtrack or the effects, which again aren't good. The effects,
But that every time they played that, hey, it's Bill Baldwin sound, that was cool. That
the musical score I thought was fine. The musical score I thought,
like, it was menacing and cool.
Yeah, it's
but
that
every time he showed up, it was, I don't know, this kind of like bassy electronic music.
Yeah, it's that whoa, 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 whoa. It's that like 80s revenge canon film kind of thing it's got going on. That worked just fine. And so, no, when I was sitting there watching it, I wish it was a lot more polished than what it was, but it was kind of just for personal reasons. Like, it was kind of the religious movie I needed after Tulsa, My Brother's Crossing. Also, watching this right after The Secret, I was looking at this going, I'm not bored. It really is what I wanted, in the sense that it's David A.R. White playing John Wick going around shooting a lot of people.
Guess because the last thing I saw was Infidel, and that is a Christian movie that it has a style. You know? Like it has that deserty look, and you know the acting is real actors. You know, it's something different. But then seeing this, and I'm like, this feels like pretend, like people are pretending, like a student film, where they're like, hey, let's pretend to do John Wick this time.
Yeah,
and get all our friends together, and
pretend is a word that was going through my head a lot with this. And as far as like Infidel goes, I had some problems with Infidel, but Infidel was a better movie than this.
Yes.
It is. It depends on what you're looking for, like, in terms of comparing them. If you want something that's certainly got a better... that is better made, it's better acted, the message is a little better too, then yeah, Infidel's certainly better than this. If you're looking for just a more exploitation-y movie,
oh yeah.
Then.
But I guess what I was disappointed about. Sorry, I didn't let you finish.
No. Go ahead.
You're like, it is. People might be wondering. It is what? What is it?
That is the tease till we review the sequel.
Yes. I think the thing is that if it was going to be just the ridiculous David A.R. White movie.
Yeah.
With all of these movies, with all the Revelation Road movies, I want more of like that scene where he's building the hammer. Remember that scene
Yes.
where it's just like, and he's got a giant hammer. I think it was the second one. The Revelation Road 2 is the most like ridiculous. They have that fight with the hammer on the street.
Yeah.
And, like that to me is, I want them to just go all out ridiculous with this stuff. And it kind of rides the line between, well, we want to kind of be taken seriously, but we want to do an action movie, but we don't have the budget for any of that. So we're going to kind of pretend to do those things, where if they went all out ridiculous and building a giant hammer with motorcycle parts, then I'm all in. I'm like, yeah, let's, because I wanted it to be much more of a cat and mouse movie with Baldwin and him, and Baldwin being a lot more like manipulative and saying, you know, Joker-esque type character.
I wanted that too. I wanted like Baldwin.
And since it didn't have that, there was like stupid car rides where we're like, why are we here? Like with Kevin Downs and stuff. It just felt like it was wasting my time.
It gave me hope that, because I like the Revelation Road movies better than I like this. Like, especially like you said, when it gets into the later two movies, which gives me hope that if this does have sequels, it will be like the sequels to Revelation Road, where it will get crazier. Because this is still like, it would do something where I would sit there and go, well, we just went there, didn't we? Where it's this religious movie, but has the scene in the woods where David A.R. White just point blank shoots a person in the back as they're walking away.
He also gets stabbed in the gut.
Yeah.
And it walks away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
did you not care?
And that lady gets stabbed in the back. That was pretty funny.
When she got stabbed in the basement.
Yeah,
that was,
and then went running away like a squirrel.
Went running away. That was one of those shots where I was like, you probably should have trimmed that take sooner than you did.
Right, because it felt like she was like, I gotta get out of this scene.
It was kind of like, do you remember in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, where the witch gets stabbed by Morgan Freeman at the end of it? And she's just kind of, and runs pissed off out of the room. It was the very, very, very B-movie version of that.
Yeah.
This, did you like this movie? Like, where would you kind of rank it, really? Because it's...
Like, I hate to... It's one of those things where I hate to say it's bad.
Yeah.
In the sense that I would like to see Christian movies, if they're gonna make a movie, do something creative. And I know it's not creative necessarily to like rip off, like it is a rip off, but there's a ton of other movies like this too. It's not just John Wick, but it is John Wick.
Yeah.
But at least try something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it kind of harkens back to Revelation Road or just any of the Kevin Downs, David A.R. White movies that are at least. There's an opportunity to have some action scenes, and you know, I'm very much tired of all of the non-movie movies that are just sermons and nothing's happening, and it's like, how do I get my kids into their basketball tournament, but not like a sports movie?
Yeah.
You know, like the Kendrick Brothers movies and stuff. Like they fall so flat, and it's just. And then also, like what you were talking about with the God Bless the Broken Road, where it's just like, I have bad things happening to me, but they're not like that bad, or why do I care?
Uh-huh.
You know, like who is this for? Sort of movies.
Yeah.
Where this, it's like, okay, an actual movie about things that are kind of fantastical.
Yeah.
You know, I hate to discourage that sort of thing from happening, but. Had this movie gone like full throttle with it, then I would have loved it.
I know.
It would have been awesome. I guess I was expecting that, and since I was like, man, this is more Christian than I was expecting, with the like him becoming a pastor at the beginning, and then now. If this had been a spin-off of God's Not Dead, that might have been cool.
Oh, yes. If this
is
Reverend
go into
Dave.
It imagining this is Reverend Dave, then sure. But, and then the whole, like, I didn't kill you because I had mercy on you. Get it? Because of Jesus?
No, and I'm like, dude, I just saw you shoot this woman like 5 times in the back in the woods. But I expected
a woman with a husband and a home. Like, she's not just a nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, not that women don't have to be married to be somebody. That's not what I'm saying. But it. Oh, go ahead.
No,
Yeah.
I'm pretty much in the same camp as you. Whereas, like, I did want to love this movie. I didn't love it. I was entertained by it. I was entertained by it, and I wanted this to be like. I wanted to come out of this and be like, oh man, like the David A.R. White action movie. This is one of my favorite movies of the year, and it's not. It does have too many problems with the editing and the pacing and things like that. Now, I would have preferred like it was just this batshit insane movie that's Race with the Devil crossed with Revelation Road. Yeah. It's not. It's not,
Cranked.
but I was never.
Remember Cranked?
Yeah, exactly.
Because have the wide angle lenses, and he does that a few times, but like have it, like the beginning of the first Revelation Road had a lot of those kind of creative angles and kind of After Effects plugins thrown in.
Yeah, it did, and that made me think with this, like, okay, it does make me want to see more of this universe, because any issue that I had with the editing and pacing in the first Revelation Road movie was pretty much fixed by the second one. And the second one and the third one did get more insane as they went along, which gives me hope that if there are more of these Beckman movies, that it will get more insane.
Yeah,
and
that's what they need. They need a bigger budget. Give some of that budget to somebody who like writes action movies, like real ones, and just have them take a pass at the script.
Yeah.
And and then make that movie and go all out with it, and then anything that doesn't work, get some of the budget left over to give to an editor who edits action movies.
Or at least another couple passes into the editing room, because this movie feels like it's a rough, like it's edited like a rough cut, or like some of the effects are like an assembly cut, like the effect, like you said, with like the bullets on the wall and everything. I've seen effects like that in like if I'm watching an assembly cut of something. So it's not even that I would say that it's done by like a bad editor or anything like that. No. It just feels like this isn't the final product of the movie, because I can follow the action fine in it, and the fighting and things like that. Just they needed a bit tighter, more trims here and there, because it would linger on certain shots with guns and struggling too long to where it feels like I'm looking at somebody holding onto a prop gun, holding on to, or making an action movie pose.
Don't give me time to analyze it like that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of that in this movie. And you're right with what you said earlier, where it does improve on that as the movie goes along in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's weird.
Yeah.
Like the second half looks and feels better. Like most of the trailer stuff is from that second half.
Would you recommend the movie?
Well,
it's a hard one, right?
I would recommend it to, I don't know. I wish it was crazier so that I could say like, yeah, check this out because it's insane. It's something you've never seen before. But I feel like in the back of everyone's mind when making these movies, there's this is a Pure Flick.
Yeah.
This is Reverend Dave. We still want to uphold we still have that audience, so we don't want to lose them. I think if it had taken the risk to lose their audience, then it would, just go for it. I mean, it's not a risk on my part. So then it would have won me over. Like, oh man, that's cool.
Me too. If you looked at the comments for the trailer for it, it was people who were like big Pure Flix fans who were like leaving negative comments about the trailer for this. I was sitting there excited about this movie, like, oh my god, like
in my trailer reaction was like, this is gonna be great, and people in the comments were like, I'm actually excited about this. So like, you had genuine people, your audience, and real people like your audience, and ready to see this movie, and I feel a little bad for Gabe because, like, if you look at the movie Samson. All of the shots that are in the trailer,
Yeah.
that big fight scene is him. Like that's the only scene that he got to direct for that movie, and you could tell, okay, he does know how to make a fight scene.
No, yeah.
And so when I'm sure he was given a bigger budget, like, okay, a very like, you get this kind of typically like movie budget for these like 2 scenes, make it awesome. And he did, and because he was able to put so much focus and attention on that one thing, he didn't have to do filler like the Kevin Downs scene. Stuff like that.
And I could tell that with because he also directed the Revelation Road movies, and you can tell he knows how to direct a Mad Max style B movie.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great shots in those movies of the car going through the desert when the car gets more and more armored as the series goes along.
Yeah, and the beginning of the third movie has that car chase.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I was like, okay, I'm in.
Oh, yeah. And some of the best shots in this movie are David A.R. White in his car going through the desert again. Like I said, where I was like, a few tweaks and this could be the same character.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that but I also feel like because those movies were written by the same guy.
Yeah.
Who used to do. I just had him on my podcast, Sean Paul Murphy, but he didn't write this one, and you can tell that there's like kind of an understanding in those of like story arc and different things that this one. I know that Tommy Blaze he's credited, but he's kind of just more of a general writer more than he is like a specific writer, because he also has written a lot of those sitcoms on Pure Flix.
Yeah, he wrote the quarantine one. At least I think I think I remember his name on there. I remember him from an episode of Friends back in the day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, he's funny. He's more of a comedy writer because he has stand up out there.
Yeah.
He's the guy, the Enterprise guy in God's Not Dead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Which isn't his best comedy role.
But it was strong enough to bring him back in the sequel.
Yeah, bring him back as the waiter. I've been doing my community theater, and
how does this guy have an arc?
Right? Why is the comic relief the thing that gets carried over? I guess because those are the people who are willing to come back. Though they got Josh Whedon back in the third one.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yeah, we don't know what happened to, who was the Chinese exchange student? Like,
oh, yeah.
He just disappeared
back
off the face of the planet.
He's at a storage facility somewhere.
Last I heard, they actually are doing, like, a Reverend Dave spin-off movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard they were doing a fourth God's Not Dead, but because like they went with a different script or something on this, like the third one.
Yeah.
And so they still have the script for that was written by the original writers, and they don't want to, like, the unplanned guys, and they don't want to. I mean, they've bought it. So
of course that's what they're doing. Like, why does that not surprise me? I'm sitting here like, God's Not Dead 3 was the one that I kind of liked, but of course,
right, but
we can't.
They didn't like it because it didn't make money.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the one that didn't make any money.
They got to get back to the. Oh man, we're persecuted, aren't we?
Which
will be harder in. I mean, that'll be harder now. In Trump's America, I think.
Oh, to do the
we're the persecuted right wing.
The Snyder cut of God's Not Dead 3.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be there. Opening.
I'll
be there.
I mean, God's Not Dead is my bread and butter.
Dude, it's same.
It's still my most viewed video.
It's I think Passion is mine, but God's Not Dead is like really close behind it.
Yeah, like every month I look at my most viewed. Like, it's still the most viewed each month.
Yeah.
People watch it, so.
Oh yeah, so so truth be told, even though I gave the first 2 negative reviews, I'm one of the biggest fans of that.
Yeah, I always tell people about God's Not Dead 3. I'm like, because people are like, they made a third one. Most people didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm not saying it's a good movie. but it's a surprising movie, given the fact that it's a God's Not Dead movie.
I know, right? Like, I remember going to, because it was, my buddy Dave and I reviewed the first two, and he was sick when the third one came out, so my wife and I reviewed it. It was the only one we saw afterwards. I'm like, honey, I think you're my good luck charm here. Like, maybe the problem was I took Dave to the first two, and they turned out to be pretty bad, but this one, it's all right.
Yeah. It's actually got a story arc. It's not offensive. You know, the actual lesson in the movie is that maybe he's being an asshole by trying to sue the school and stuff, and he needs to chill out.
Yeah.
Like,
the conversations felt
like,
real in it. Like, the back and forth between him and his brother in the movie felt genuine if you've ever seen family members talk like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's none
Well, and I think David White plays the kind of naive little brother character extremely well. There's something about him that he's just able to do that.
Like, you can tell he was doing these kinds of movies when he was a teenager.
Right. He's like, okay, I'll just be the second glance guy.
Yeah, exactly. I keep looking for him on Saved by the Bell, because I've been doing this binge watch episode on Saved by the Bell, and in his bios it lists Saved by the Bell, but it's not it's listed in his bios but not in like the filmography list, so I don't see an episode or a character name. So I'm like, unless I miss,
I'll send him a message and ask him.
Huh?
I'll just text him and say,
he returns your emails.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts about this?
I thought that it was fine. I thought that I'm actually interested to see how the Asian guy plays. Like, if they make him the bad guy.
Oh,
because he's a little more of a anti-hero, kind of like there's some like camaraderie there between him and so there's something like, it's weird to throw in a cult in this movie. Like, I know that's like the girl came out of that, but like it could have been anything. So to have this weird cult leader is a strange addition, because it's also about like not cults at all. It's about like assassins. Is that what they're called? Assassins? Yeah. So that's an odd angle, though it would have been cool to like dive into that. So to have another, like he knows all of his moves, like that they're equally matched sort of thing would be fun. Yeah,
that would make if they were to do that in the next one, it would make it much tighter, which would be for its benefit. Because like you said, I do wish there was a lot more of the cult in this movie, and you can tell that there probably maybe originally was, but only kind of could do so much with it with Billy Baldwin, whatever his availability was, which seemed to be pretty limited. And so there was, you're right, like it gets to a point where it's more just about these side gangsters, these other hitmen, and
weren't those hitmen or those guys who were like had the guy taped up, those were just random guys, I think. Because they were like, she said she'd give us $10,000 to kill you.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I forgot about that. He randomly walks into a torture porn at one point in this film when he's in the warehouse. There's this
like
whole
Remind me of that scene in Mystery Team. Did you ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Where he like walks in and he's like, I'll pay you to watch.
He just stumbles upon a hostile movie in progress in this film.
And they're like, he's like, I didn't see anything, I'll just go. And they're like, actually, that girl who just ran through said she'd pay us to kill you. So apparently she had randomly gone through there too. And then the guy like pulls out his pocket knife at the end. That was another part that was clearly supposed to be comic relief that just fell so flat. Like, so the guy who's the boss, like, he's like, oh, I'll kill you, or something. Like, it's supposed to be super weak.
Yeah, he was doing things like that through the movie where, like, he was just going to let that guy just be tortured by these, like, hostile torture porn villains.
Another young-looking guy, like, probably, if 18, only 18.
And there's one woman who's, like, passed out and handcuffed, and he just kind of like leaves a phone there gambling to the fact that she's even conscious enough to call the police.
Yeah. I guess I think that in the same way that, like, Revelation Road 3 totally underutilized Australian Kevin Sorbo.
Oh, yeah. That was my favorite.
I wish... when he came in, I'm like, oh, good, here we go. This is going to be awesome. Because he was, like, all in. He's wearing, like, fur coats. And clearly having so much fun with his role.
Yeah.
And he's only in it for, like, a scene.
Mm.
And then, obviously, he's like, look, I'm just putting on this accent. Because to justify the fact that he sucked at the accent, that he wasn't doing a good job.
The double take that David A.R. White gave, and that was perfect.
Like, again, I just wish they would just get these guys for the whole movie.
Yeah.
You know, figure out what it takes to get them to be that crazy character for the whole movie and go for it. Don't have a cameo of this, you know, this would-be villain and all these, like, side characters. There's a lot about this that reminds me of the things I didn't like about Revelation Road 3. Because Revelation Road 3 is fine, but, like, it could have been a lot more, and especially since the second one goes, like, really... they have a main bad guy in the second one, and they go all out with the...
That would be great. Yeah, because, like, as it is, my opinion on it is like, I mean, it never bored me. Like, I was sitting and considering the other two movies I watched yesterday, it was easily the better of the three. One was a Lifetime thriller about sugar daddies, and the other was the movie version of The Secret. So, like, yeah, I mean, it's a short enough movie. It's about a 90-minute runtime. So I wasn't sitting there bored by it. I was entertained enough. If you're going to put it on as just sort of like this throwback to a direct-to-video action movie from about 20, 30 years ago, hey, sure, get yourself some drinks and order some food. You might have a decent time watching it. But I do agree with I really am in the same camp as you. Is like, if you're going to do another one of these, do what I wish this one was, which was to be just even more absolute insane with it.
Yeah.
And a lot tighter on the editing.
So that I can get a bunch of drinks with my friends and we watch it and have an awesome time.
Yeah, yeah.
This one definitely, it's if I got a bunch of friends together, if I had friends, then you know, this wouldn't be like this wouldn't be the one that I'd pick.
No, it wouldn't
friends.
be. It'd be down the road after you've seen a few other of David A.R. White's movies.
Yeah.
Well, the camera's
I'd
telling me...
rather watch Second Glance. Because that one at least is funny.
Yes, and it's only about 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
So the camera's telling me, it's giving me the little battery sign, but that's fine. That's pretty much my vital thoughts on the movie anyway.
That's about everything, I think.
But where can we find you at on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. My YouTube, head over there at youtube.com/SayGoodnightKevin. I do reviews. I'm just copying the Nostalgia Critic.
You're Beckman to...
I'm the Christian version of Nostalgia Critic. I'm the Nostalgia Christian. So.
Well, thanks a bunch for doing this. We got to do this soon. We got to do this again soon over on your channel.
Yeah, man. Anytime.
Awesome.